Good Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for hopping on NCSA Live. I'm David Kamisik, here from Next College Student Athlete. So, as we do every Tuesday, we're going to touch on a topic here in the recruiting process. Appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever platform you're watching us on. Encourage you guys to participate as well. So, any questions you have, but regarding the topic that we're going to cover, or anything just in the process of recruiting, feel free to jot there at the bottom of your page, and we'll get to as many as we can here over the next half hour or so. Today's topic, we're going to talk about the difference between high school and college athletics. Obviously, it's what we do, those student athletes that are trying to get to high school to play at the college level. So really want to dive into what those differences are for families who are trying to figure out, is this a path a student athlete wants to pursue, what to expect. So we'll talk about the training, the talent level at the college level, really how college sports is a full-time job, and your team really becomes a family, becomes your group of friends out there, and really talk about the importance of academics as well, and how important that is. Big differences, as many of us know, between high school and college level there. But really, high school versus college sports, it's difficult. It's a transition, right? The high school level, you have a lot of student athletes who play the sport oftentimes just to be able to do something, to participate, to make friends, to be part of the school, part of the team. But when you make that transition to the college level, it can certainly be very, very difficult. It can be a major adjustment for any student athlete, but that change again from high school to college is very monumental. Obviously, the college level, it's that much harder. Think of all the high school athletes that are out there, and how many of those student athletes that would love an opportunity to play at the college level. It's not always that easy. It's competitive, and to be able to make that high school team is a big win. It's an accomplishment. To be able to play at the college level is that much more difficult. So we're really going to dive into it, and let's start with the training and the talent side. In college, newcomers, rookies are often going to find themselves training with and competing against more experienced, more skilled athletes. In the college level, your entire roster is comprised of athletes who are invested in their sport. They're driven by their passion, maybe driven by scholarship aid, driven for a love of the game to compete. All that comes into it. So it means there's little room for mistakes at the college level. Really, a lack of concentration or an unwillingness to give your all can oftentimes be detrimental to you sometimes at the college level. And each practice, each day, each workout, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove yourself in the gym. You've got to prove yourself in conditioning in the preseason. All that comes into play at the high school level. I think a lot of student athletes are used to being the guy, or they're used to being the gal. They're used to being the ones that have gotten all the playing time. They've gotten all the shots. They've been playing the major minutes in whatever their sport is. When you get to the college level, it's oftentimes an even playing field. You see a lot of these kids that were in that exact same situation. They were the leading scorer. They were the one that were getting the ball in the seventh inning. Whatever sport it is, you're looking at some of the top talent throughout the country at the high school level. And again, whether that's at a Division I college, Division II, Division III NAIA, or junior college, it is competitive. And I think that's a big transition for a lot of student athletes, to be the ability to make that leap from playing all the time, being the guy, to go into a college where you're fighting for every minute. You're fighting for that opportunity, especially as a freshman in college. That can be a major challenge, and something that mentally a lot of student athletes aren't necessarily familiar with, but also unsure on how to handle. They're again used to being the guy, the gal, and that's not certainly always the case when you make that transition from the high school or the college level. One of the big transitions is college. Really, we talk about it all the time here. It's oftentimes like a full-time job. If you're going to compete at the college level, you better be prepared to commit the majority of your time to the sport and find that balance between your classwork as well, right? Between practices, games, traveling, academics, workouts, whatever the case is. Division I athletes can often devote up to 80 plus hours per week to their athletics and their academics. So again, at the high school level, it's a little bit different, but in college, you're working two full-time jobs almost, right? You're taking maybe 15, 18 credits in the classroom. You've got practices, study halls, film sessions, games, travel, all that stuff going on. So it can be a major challenge to be able to balance both of that. That's where we talk about time management and being organized. All of that plays a major part to a college athlete's life, and being able to balance the athletic side with the academic side. We'll see some student athletes who go on to play at the college level, and they aren't able to handle that. So again, finding that balance between sports, committing to the sport, being a good teammate, being an important member of your team, but in addition, going to college for what you went to college for, and that's getting a degree and getting your education. Again, that can be a difficult challenge. Even so, at the D2, the D3, the NAI, the junior college levels, there seems to be more balance just because there's a little bit less of a time commitment, a little less travel than the Division 1 programs. But you still need to learn how to manage your time commitment with your sport, with your studies, with your social life. For those of you that are maybe interested in competing at a lower level, still having the opportunity to have a job and do all that. There's a lot of different aspects of the student athlete that makes a difference between high school and college, where you're not maybe having to put as much time in with homework or in the classroom or your studies, or you're certainly not, practicing 7 hours a day and traveling, on flights and hopping across the country. You're going 30 minutes to a game and coming back home. So again, that balance can certainly be challenging, but those sacrifices you make, certainly won't go unrewarded. There are some great benefits of being a college athlete. We talked about scholarships, NCAA financial aid. Student athletes often get early class registrations, knowing that their schedule is a little bit more difficult. It's maybe a little bit more challenging to fit in sports and their classwork. They're able to kind of get first dibs at which classes they're taking. They have access to a lot of times for tutoring within their athletic programs. Usually, the athletic programs have mentors or tutors that provide that extra help that student athletes need. But there's a lot of other cool things that come with it. Being able to work out in state of the art facilities, train with top coaches, travel to colleges, maybe nationwide or in the area. You get sometimes some free swag, you get some free sports gear, some free apparel. So there's sacrifices that student athletes make at the college level, but the reward can often be a great benefit in addition to the successes that you can find at the college level, and pushing yourself and testing yourself in terms of really what that is. So again, college athletics, we often say, especially at the Division 1 level, can really be like working 2 full-time jobs. You've got your sport, the commitment that you have there from a time standpoint, but again, you're going to school to get that degree. So obviously the balance between making sure that you're taking care of your business in the classroom as well. And we talked about it earlier, the team sense, where that really becomes a family, right? When you step onto campus as a student athlete, your freshman year, your first day of class, your first day of school practice, whatever it is, those are the people that you're around. You're spending a ton of your time with your teammates. So they really become more than just friends. They're like your family. They're your support system. Even outside of practices and in games, you're living with this person. You're eating with these people. You're traveling. You're training. You're studying. You've got classes with them. You're spending holiday breaks together on a lot of occasions. With Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, think about all the basketball athletes that maybe don't get a chance to go home for the holidays. They're with their team. They've got games. They've got travel. Whatever the case is. So many people experience that at the high school level, but obviously once you get to the college level and you're living, with these individuals in many cases and spending all your time together for the most part, that really becomes a sense of family. So having that connection is a driving force for many student athletes in terms of going to college, being an athlete, but also having that ability to have that connection, to have that group of sort of friends built in, and again, people that you're going to spend the majority of your time with, and hopefully have lifelong relationships there as well. We also talked about academics, right? So academics certainly important at the high school level. Maybe they don't play as large of a role as they do in college. So this is the first time that you'll have to build a class schedule that's not going to interfere with games or practices, right? Which again can be a challenge depending on your major, maybe your sport. A lot of times we see student athletes that want to study PT, or they want to be doctors someday, and it's difficult to be able to juggle that balance of, again, being a full-time athlete and also a full-time student, where you have other courses and projects and other things that student athletes have to do as well. But again, coaches can keep a closer eye on those academic requirements. There are those mandatory study hours, a minimum GPA, which some people will see at the high school level, and certainly at the college level as well. That's again part of the NCAA and what they have in place in terms of being able to make sure student athletes are academically qualified to compete in college. So again, academics do play a major role. Advice for any student athletes that are looking for those opportunities: number one, make sure you're taking care of your business at the high school level. Again, that regarding all your classes, making sure that you've got your ACT, your SAT, all those things in line. And again, the more organized you can be and the more ahead of the game you can be when you do get to become a college student athlete, hopefully it's a little bit easier for you. We know in high school, kids don't always have that recognition of how important academics is, or they kind of figure that switch out a little bit later in the process. You can't do that in college. If your first semester you're struggling and you're not hitting the minimum grades, you're not going to be able to play for that team. So again, the high school experience that you have, even before that, middle school, leading up to high school, it's good practice. It's good repetition to become organized. Are you someone similarly to how I was, who's a procrastinator, and you're doing things the night before, or are you again planning ahead and getting your schedule sent out? Because again, once you get to that college level, you have a lot more commitment in addition to just the classroom with being an athlete. So it can certainly be challenging there. But again, the differences between high school, college, obviously the level of play is an important piece of it. To be able to be playing at a pretty high level with the high school, typically you'll see that more often when it comes with like a club program or a travel program. The level of competition is a little bit higher there. So being able to juggle all of that and have that ability to play with some of the top kids out there, again, when you get to the college level, that's every day. You're practicing with some of the best kids from across the country. You're practicing with college level athletes who have put in as much work, who have put in the time and put in the sacrifices, played as many games as you, are willing to put in the effort. And it's also tough because those are the people that you're competing against. You're competing against your family, your team in the college level for minutes for playing time, which makes it even that much more challenging. So there are a lot of different things that can kind of come along with being a college athlete. And again, high school athletics prepares you somewhat for that, but it's certainly not going to give you all the answers, give you all the bells and whistles. And um, again, there is an adjustment even for just a student athlete that, or just excuse me, a student, excuse me, that adjustment from the high school to the college level can certainly be difficult. And then again, you add on the commitment of sports and all that you're required to do or asked to do with that program, and it's a challenge. But again, there are a lot of great rewards: the scholarship aspect, the financial aid aspect, being able to play your sport, the passion, your love that you have. So again, it's a conversation that I think for each family is different, right? Are you willing to put in that time to be a student athlete? And are you willing to make those sacrifices? Are you willing to maybe not see family as much, or not go home for the holidays, or depending on when your sport is? So again, those are conversations that families should have as part of the conversations that we have with student athletes. And a lot of times we'll see student athletes that don't want to have that full-time commitment of being a Division I athlete, maybe are focused more on Division II or Division III schools, looking just for an opportunity to continue to play their sport, still have some of those perks and benefits, but maybe not at the level that you see with Division I schools. So again, a lot of great information on our website, ncsasports.org, in terms of some of these situations that we talked about. We do have a question here, comment, I believe, coming in. I'm trying to multitask here, so hang with me for a second. Jim Bros, the man behind the scenes. Jim, can you pop that first question up that we have? That would help me out. Okay, cool. Very hard. Academics are great. Trying to get both their boys out there, it's very hard. Any help would be great. So again, I think the important thing is setting the tone early, establishing in high school really what that commitment is. Getting time management, getting the organizational aspects. Because not only is that going to help you as a student athlete in college, but it's really going to set you up for your career. Right, as a professional, all the time management, the juggling of your work and potentially your family and whatever else you have going on in life can be difficult. But again, being a college athlete is a lot of times going to help student athletes be that much more prepared for that life after college as well. Knowing that again, the majority of these student athletes aren't going to be professional athletes; they're going to be professionals in something other than athletics, which sounds like an NCAA commercial. But again, it can really set you up for success. The sooner you can get a student athlete, or you as a student athlete can really be locked in and really understanding what that process is. Jim, I don't see any questions coming in. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll hop into the commitments here and recognize some of our recent commitments that we have here at NCSA. So let's dive into some of those commitments. We want to recognize first off Julia Daly, a student athlete who is making her college decision. She's going to be going to Gettysburg College, so congratulations to Julia. We're going to hit the diving board, a little diving action. Madison Schmidt from the university, or will be attending the University of South Dakota. Madison, just from the State to the east from Minnesota, 2022 graduate. A little bit about Madison. She and her family signed up for the NCSA network during the beginning of her sophomore year. So they got an early start in the process. They put in the time. She had 185 coaches that viewed her profile, 47 coaches following her profile. She had exchanges with college coaches through almost 200 emails. And as a result, she's going to be putting in the work and attending a Division I school, the University of South Dakota. So congratulations to Madison. Wrapping things up, Olivia Eidluber, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, soccer student athlete goalkeeper. She'll be continuing her college career at Southern Oregon University. So again, we love seeing these commitments, and the national signing period is around the corner here for many sports. A lot of these 2022 prospects that are making these college decisions will be putting pen to paper here, signing their national letter of intent and getting that official thing done. But if you're a senior at this point and you're not at that level, or you haven't made that commitment, you're still looking for opportunities. Again, NCSA is here to help those student athletes. And again, going back to what we talked about, that balance between being a student athlete can also be a motivating factor to keep that organization, to keep that balance, to have some structure to your life. So if you're looking for opportunities still, whether again you're a senior, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, NCSA is here to help out. So drop us a line, shoot us a message, let us know what we can do to hopefully help with your recruiting process, and make sure hopefully that you're committing to a great school like 3 student athletes that we just touched on. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Next week we'll be back here at Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central, like we always are. We're going to talk a little bit about coaches and really how they're recruiting right now. Where are they at in the recruiting process? What's their thought process? And how do they look at the student athletes that they're looking to recruit? So we'll be back here next week with some great more information, but appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Have a great week.